Thank you, Steve. Great to see everybody back in here. It was awesome being back out there on the field today. Seems like yesterday we were in Charlotte celebrating the Duke's Mayo Bowl win over North Carolina, and here we are starting spring practice. But it was really fun being back out there again. So many new faces, obviously mid-year enrollees that came from high school, the transfers that have come in, some new walk-ons that we've added. There's a lot of new faces out there, coaches as well. But having said that, I thought it was a great first day. The energy's always going to be good across the country on day one of practice. So that was no surprise. We had great energy, but it was really efficient. Guys knew what to do. We had very few pre-snap penalties. I've been a part of some day ones where you've got, 10,000 false starts and offsides and 12 men in the huddle and all that stuff, but we really didn't. Very few penalties, very few pre-snap penalties. Mental errors, we didn't have a lot of those. Guys had retained information here in the off season, and it was a good day one for us as well. You guys got to see a good bit of it, and one thing about our practices is it's nonstop. There's not a lot of standing around. It's high energy and a lot of moving parts going on. So the conditioning is certainly different, and our guys, no matter what they've done in the weight room, it's different when you go out there and practice football for 2.5 hours straight. And the conditioning part of it was great out there today. It's nonstop work, but no one struggled really with that. Give credit to Coach Day and his staff. The way that our team has worked in the weight room since they came back here in January, all the way through, February. And then you guys saw the video that we put out last night on social media of some of that work, and then culminating with what we called Grit Night a couple of weeks ago out in the woods in the dark. Was a great way for us to finish the off-season program, and our guys have taken that conditioning and didn't lose it all over spring break last week, and came right back and moved around and flew around out there fast today. So ton of work to do, but was really pleased with it from a day one standpoint. Tomorrow will be a walkthrough meeting day for us, and then we'll pick right back up on Thursday with practice number 2. So with that, be glad to take any questions.
Shayna, just some clerical stuff. Are Mark Fox and Jalen Brooks still part of the team?
They are not currently a part of the program.
And Dylan Wanham, I think he was maybe kind of limited. Is he recovering okay?
Yeah, he's recovering okay. So obviously he had the back issue last year, and recovering from that. He'll be limited this spring. Don't think he'll be able to do a ton of full speed work, but he's able to do some limited things as well. And going back to that first question too, Dave, with Mark, it was injury situation with him that kind of caught up with him, and then I spoke with Jalen last week and have been in constant contact with him, but right now he's not part of the program at this point.
Shane, I know we saw Luke out there a good bit. I guess just what's kind of is he limited at all? What's kind of his prognosis at least right now?
Yeah, he is limited, but he's probably farther along than we thought he might be at this point. He was able to. He's not full speed, but he's not completely limited, if that makes sense. So he's not able to get out there right now and do a whole lot of 11-on-11 competitive things, but he's able to do quite a bit of individual and drills and things like that. So I think he's 20 weeks out from surgery and is right on pace and making great progress.
Shane, I know you've said in the past couple of weeks how Spencer has been getting up to speed, talking with Marcus and getting used to the offense, but seeing him on the field today working with the guys, did you see what you wanted out of him from the first day of practice?
Yeah, I did. I'll go in here, in a second and watch the tape of everything, but just first glance being out there, I thought he did a great job. A lot of the things that we do here systematically, organizationally, offensively are different than what, he had been used to at Oklahoma. So he got in the huddle some at Oklahoma, but primarily he did not. So just simple things, being able to walk into the huddle and call a play. is different. Not that he didn't do that at Oklahoma. He did when I was at Oklahoma, and he did last year in certain situations, but primarily it was no huddle, and he was signaling plays and things like that. So it's a little bit different. And then, he got under center and took a snap from center some at Oklahoma, but probably did it a little bit more today in practice than what he was used to because he's used to being in the gun. So those are the things that I wanted to see. And today was primarily like a red zone type day for us. We didn't do a whole lot of open field stuff, so that's tough for a quarterback because you're on the 15-yard line going in most of the day, so there's very limited what you can do from throwing the football. But mechanically and just being able to run the offense, I thought he had a great first day.
Shane, a broad question, but I mean, what was just the difference this year in comparison to where this team was at a year ago? We hear the buzzwords like culture, the energy, but can you give us kind of like a behind-the-scenes look of what has changed with over the last 365 days?
I think the biggest thing is just guys knowing what we expect and the tempo that we had that we want to practice with, and I remember going out there day one last year and having to scream and yell and about finishing plays and running to the ball and all that stuff. And not that we didn't have to today, but guys know, what to expect. And I think that's the biggest thing is last year, everything we were doing, Mike, was for the very first time. It was the first time we had ever been out there to practice. Tomorrow would be the first walkthrough meeting day that we had. Guys, the returners at least, know what to expect, and that's probably the biggest thing for me. How we do things and what's expected of everyone is a little bit better understood this year. And then I think also the new guys that we have brought in, whether it be high school or college transfers, they've really come in and they've forced everybody around them to elevate their games even more so as well, on and off the field with what they're doing, and they're older guys that are here on a purpose.
Am I good? First, speaking of that, Rattler out there, we only saw him for a little bit, but seemed to be having fun, getting along well with the guys. Can't be easy making that transition for culture, especially as a quarterback where there's kind of an element of expected leadership. You've been around him more. How have you seen how he's adapted quickly to the culture and to the guys around him?
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. And credit Spencer and credit the guys around him as well, because it's not an easy situation to come into, whether you're Spencer coming from Oklahoma and what he had done out there, or whether you were somebody that's the guys on the team had never heard of. It's not easy walking into a SEC football program in January and getting acclimated. But he's done a great job. Spencer's a great young man. He's really come in and just be himself and just work really, really hard. I think the guys around him respect that, and the players on our team that were here, have done a great job of welcoming Spencer to, and all the transfers, new arrivals, high school, everybody, to the program. And, at the end of the day, we all are on the same team, and we all want what's best for South Carolina. And whether it's Spencer or anybody else, it's important for all of our returning players to make those guys feel welcome. And both sides have done a great job of doing that, in my opinion.
Shane, you mentioned Jalen not being with the program right now. Are you leaving the door open for a possible return, or is that door completely closed with Jalen?
I'm not going to get into all that. He's not with us right now. We'll see what the future holds.
And I guess with Josh Van obviously opted to come back for another year, what have you seen from him in workouts and stuff like that to show you maybe he's taken another step?
Yeah, he's been awesome. He really has. He came back for a reason, and a lot of those are personal goals, and wanted another year to continue to get better as a football player. But a lot of those were team-wise as well, and to win more than 7 games and to have an even better season than what we had last year. And he's done a great job of just kind of setting the tone, and he's the leader along with DK and some of those older guys in that wide receiver room. And he's done a great job of being a leader on and off the field, and proud of the way that he's working. I mean, some of the competitive drills that we did over the last month or so at night, he's been right in the middle of those things and has had some battles, to say the least, just some one-on-one competitive situations that we've put guys in, and he's been right in the middle of it and has been awesome. So really proud of him and what he's doing on and off the field.
Shane, two quick questions for you. Obviously, on the defensive side, there were some guys that had a decision on whether to move on or come back, and so that gives you guys a lot of experience on that side of the ball. Can you talk about if there's been maybe just a mentality shift just with all that experience on that side of the ball? And then, two, it didn't look like Sherrod Green was very limited today. Can you just speak to him and just kind of his recovery and where he is?
Yeah, Sherrod's another one. You know, he obviously is a little bit different injuries, but farther along than Luke because he got hurt with that Georgia game, so before Luke did. So Sherrod's right on track. He was limited in all the competitive things that we did over the last month, but has progressed nicely since then. And he's not full speed, but he's moving really, really fast towards being full speed. And then leadership-wise, you got some key pieces back. 3 of the 4 starters in the secondary are back. You know, Sherrod's coming off an injury, but Brad's played a lot of snaps. Mo Kaba played a lot of snaps for us last year. That defensive line is an older group. Having a guy like Zach Pickens come back for another year. MJ Webb's an older guy that's played a lot of football. So there is, good leadership, but we also, we lost some critical leaders on that defense. Jalen Foster was out at practice today, and Zaquandre White was out at practice today. And, Jalen, I was telling him just how much I miss him just from a leadership standpoint, especially because he and Jabari Ellis did a great job leading that defense last year and kind of being the glue in a lot of ways. So we do have some key pieces back, but it'll be a big challenge for us this year to the guys that are coming back to be the leaders that those guys were for us last year, and find those guys that set the tone. And everything I've seen shows me that they're on the way, to doing that. And it's certainly having the amount of experience we have, particularly up front, coming back, and then obviously the three returners in the secondary is huge also.
Rick was out there, obviously, and what have you seen from him? Where's he at, and what can you share with us about David Spalding? Because I think I saw him on the sideline before.
Yep, man, we need a separate press conference just for injuries and the health of the football team. Golly, veteran coach would have just run through the injury report beforehand and could have gotten to a rookie mistake. Let's see, Rick. I know I sound like a breaking record, limited, but coming along, and he's close. Obviously, he got hurt in August last year, and didn't do anything all last season. The rehab's been a little bit slower than probably he would have liked, but we talked a couple weeks ago about just time to take the next step and continue to get closer and closer to playing, and he's hungry, and I'm optimistic that he'll be back to full speed soon. He's not full speed right now, but on track, and hopefully he'll be able to do some full speed things here in the springtime. He needs to before the spring is out, for sure. It's time for him to take another step, and he's eager to do that. And then Spalding is coming off an off-season surgery that he had, I guess, right when we came back from the bowl game. Nothing that will limit him when we get into the season, but it's just something that we needed to go in and clean up, kind of in his pec area, that we just need to get fixed. That he struggled with a little bit last year. He fought through some stuff throughout the season and just wanted to get that fixed where it wasn't an issue for him going forward. So we wanted to do that as soon as possible when we came back from the bowl game. So that's what he got done, and he'll be full speed certainly by the season, and hopefully before then.
Then obviously Jalen Dickerson stepping into his role. Can you share what that'll look like for him and what he'll be doing moving forward? Yeah,
Jalen's a guy that has been around this program for a while, and had played a lot of football, and his body was just beat up, and certainly loves playing the game. And I don't want to speak for Jalen, but I think he just felt like his body was to the point where he wasn't 100%, and it was going to be hard for him to perform at the level he wanted to, with him not being quite at 100% and just battling injuries like he had. And he's an asset to this program on and off the field. So we certainly talked to him about becoming a student assistant coach, and and it's great. We were out there today. I was staying on the sideline talking to Jalen Foster, and we were yelling at him on the sideline because he was moving around too slow and not doing a great job coaching, in our opinion. But now he'll be awesome, and excited that he's going to be around this program still, even though he's not playing. And what a great young man. I mean, he's been in our staff meetings now, obviously, because he's a coach, and just listening to him. He came up to me a couple weeks ago just talking about how fortunate he is to be here and how much he's enjoyed being around the coaches in this realm, not as a player. So happy for him. And I should have mentioned it, happy to have Devontae Holloman back, a part of the program as well. I've always, like I said, from the day I got here, want to get our former players back involved more and more, and was glad the timing worked out to get Devontae here. It's not every day you're able to add a former player that had played in the NFL, but had also won a state championship, as a high school coach that's from the state of South Carolina. So excited to have Devontae out here, being a part of the program. He's working with the defense as an analyst, and will be a great resource for our staff and our team as well.
Shane, nothing against the guys who played QB for you last year, but having a guy like Spencer with the mobility, how much does that open up, increase, or just maybe even redefine the offensive playbook and what you guys want to do on offense?
Yeah, I think always you want to take what your 11 guys on offense can do, or what your personnel best suits, and as we go through these next 14 practices now, we'll build this offense and around what we do best. But Spencer is certainly a guy that, one, has played a lot of football and has a lot more experience than those other quarterbacks do. And two, he has a unique skill set. He's got a great arm talent, but he's athletic enough and can run around as well. So he's it certainly is we're able to expand, some of the things that we do, especially because of his just experience from, playing and being around different schemes and things like that. And then we just got to build what we do around him and our other quarterbacks. And we've got some talented guys. I mean, Braden Davis is a good young player. Colton's coming in year 2. Luke's getting healthy, and DK showed what he can do at quarterback. So we've got a lot of options there, which is fun to be able to play with.
Hey, Coach. I'm wondering, as spring practice gets underway leading up to the spring game, are there any guys, maybe underclassmen or new incoming transfers, that you've challenged to kind of step up into a big role with the program, and maybe how have they responded to that?
Yeah, I think with all of our guys, a lot. I would hope we've challenged them all to step up and take that next step. Obviously, we lost 2 starters on the defensive line, and Aaron Sterling and JJ. So in my mind, it's time for Jordan Birch and Jordan Strawn to take that next step, and they know that. In the secondary, we lost a key figure, like I mentioned a minute ago, with Jalen Foster. So with RJ Roderick and Darius Rush and Cam Smith, for those guys to take the next step and build on what they did last season on the field, but also from a leadership standpoint as well. Kevin Harris and Zaquandre White are gone, so that running back room is, to me, that whole group's talented. Who's going to step up and be the guy? And really impressed with the way that Marshawn Lloyd has worked since he came back in January, and the purpose that he's going about his business with each and every day. So I think you could go on in all those positions, but that's what's exciting about each year's. Everything's new, and we talked about it this morning as a team in our team meeting, that 2021 is behind us, and no matter what you did last year, that's great, but you got to build on it. And there's no guaranteed starters in here. We're competing, and the guys that are dependable, that are good enough, we'll find a role for, and want that aggressive competition all across the board.
Shane, just to clarify, you guys didn't have to get Rick an extra year of eligibility or anything like that. He was still had one, right?
Yeah, we haven't had to go through anything from that standpoint.
And then a little off topic, but I'm just curious kind of what your relationship with Frank Martin was in your time here, and kind of what kind of interaction you guys had at least while he was here.
Yeah, no, Frank's been he's been great to me. Knew him a little bit before I came here. Had met him at some events outside Columbia, when I was at Oklahoma, I guess. And he's been great to me since I've been here. I was over there I guess last week, the day they left for Tampa, I went over there and watched them practice and spent a couple hours over there. And he, like a lot of our coaches here at Carolina, have been very supportive of me, and we've traded text messages and phone calls throughout my season. I would get from him and during his season as well, and understand that it's part of the business, and he certainly elevated the basketball program here during his time. It's a better situation for the new coach walking in than what it was, I guess, when Frank took over when he first got hired, and certainly wish he and his family well and thank them for all they did for Carolina. Also, he's a good friend and excited to see where he lands next.
Shane, you're able to get guys back on campus now from a recruiting aspect. Just what's the response been coming off, obviously, last season? Where do you guys stand with this 2023 group, and how much recruiting momentum do you guys feel like you have going into the spring and in the offseason?
Yeah, I think really good. Coming off just a lot of momentum with this program just in general, and that's certainly felt in recruiting, and it's great to have prospects back on campus. And we had a great month of January right after the bowl game with prospects that were here. And then today we had some big-time players out at practice today as well that are still here that'll be spending the afternoon with us that I'll get to visit with here in a little bit. So certainly coming off the momentum of last season, winning 3 of 5, winning the bowl game over North Carolina like we did has done nothing but just add to that momentum. And anytime you can get players on campus and their families to see how great the city of Columbia is and how beautiful this campus is and see this amazing facility, it's a positive for us. So we've really worked hard to get prospects on campus as often as possible, and that's going to be during the month of March and spring practice, and then going into April with the spring game and on and on and on.
Hey, Shane, for the portion of practice we were able to see, it looked like Zeb and Spencer were talking a lot between reps and between drills and everything. What kind of an asset is he going to be for the quarterback position this year, and how has he made the transition, I guess, back to coaching after putting on the pads last season?
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's gone from quarterback into actually babysitting for my wife and I some as well. He's like the most popular babysitter in my neighborhood. If we're ever going anywhere, my kids, all they do is they want Zeb to come over. So he came over a couple weeks ago and babysat and had some neighborhood kids come over. So he's truly gone from player to graduate assistant now that he's babysitting for the head coach some. But he's been awesome. Every reason that we hired him last summer to be a graduate assistant is there and then some. And he'll be a fantastic resource with Spencer or for Spencer and all those quarterbacks because he just played, in our most recent game. He was playing in it. He was an older guy to begin with, and then he's been in this offense. Speaking with Spencer directly, or specifically with Spencer, they've both been Big 12 quarterbacks, so they have that connection, if you will. So he'll be a great resource for all of them. And Luke Doty's been great, with Spencer also. Luke's been awesome, just helping him and giving him pointers and coaching tips with the system and things like that. So that's a great group, and they're, like all those positions, they know that the better each person is in that room, the better the group's going to be, the better the team's going to be, and that's been very evident with the quarterbacks.
Shane, we had a chance to speak with Marshawn Lloyd the other day, and he says that he's feeling better now than he was maybe 2 years ago when he arrived, and he's just excited. Didn't take part in spring ball, I think, his freshman year, so he's just excited to get back on the field. How have you seen him grow since you first arrived here and got to know him as he's continued to battle back and try to get back mentally, not just physically, from that ACL injury?
Yeah, no, he's been great, and Marshawn is like so driven. You guys have been around him. I mean, he is on a mission and very driven to be great at everything that he does. And I want him to enjoy it and have fun and all that as well along the way and enjoy the process. But he's on a mission. That's the best thing I can say. And people forget he's still young and he hasn't played a lot of football because he got here in 2020 and had the knee injury and then was limited last spring and really couldn't do much. So last season was his first year of playing, and who knows if he was ever really 100% just coming off that injury. So, now that he's getting a ton of reps and whatnot, I think he realizes the time is now, and it's a great opportunity for him. And he's been a great leader. He's got some good players that we've around him at that running back position. We've elevated the competition to try and make that whole room better, and he's done a great job of handling his business in the weight room, academically, and then out there on the field today.
Shane, obviously, I know we didn't get to observe the entire 2+ hour practice, but we did observe Marcus working with the offensive line a little bit. Do you envision him kind of working a little more closely with that position group through the spring and into fall camp?
No. He may have. I mean, he's the coordinator, so he's going to kind of be involved with every position, and he's got background, with the offense. So he may have been, talking to him. There's certain times in practice where the quarterbacks get together with the centers. There's certain times where we're just doing walkthrough on air, and he may be talking to the offensive lineman about different things. But no, I mean, he's working with the quarterbacks. He's the offensive coordinator, but just like, Pete Limbo's in charge of every position on special teams, and Clayton White's ultimately responsible for every position on defense. Marcus is responsible for everything on offense. So I think I wouldn't read too much into that. He works with the offensive line. He works with the running backs, receivers, tight ends, and along with the rest of the offensive staff.
With Carlin's obviously working to get in the league, and David with his deal, what's that position going to look like this spring, since those were obviously your two guys there?
Yeah, good question. It's a work in progress. We did some last year where if we tried to get some bigger personnel on the field, Mo Kaba had played like that Sam linebacker position. Darrell Ware did it some for us. Cam was actually working at it, today. Cam Smith. So that's one that we're we'll have to continue to find guys that can do that. David's coming back, but you need some other ones. And then there's some smart guys in that secondary that have played a lot of snaps. So the more those guys can do, the better. And Coach Gray's doing a great job of trying to teach those guys everything, where we are interchangeable. But it is a little bit of an issue during spring practice just because, David's not going right now and Carlin's graduating.
Unfortunately, I saw Parker White standing on the side. He's no longer kicking for you guys. Just kind of what's going on in the journey to replace a guy that did all he did during his time here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, first of all, again, what a weapon he was, and I know y'all are tired of me saying it, but God, what a joke it was that he wasn't a finalist for that Lou Groza Award. Still bothers me for what he did last season. He was so dependable and was a weapon. So excited to be able to follow his career, going forward. And I hope all of Gamecock Nation appreciates what a great kicker he is and was for us. And that's another one that it's a great competition. You asked a question a minute ago about guys stepping up. Somebody's got to step up and replace Parker White to the best of their ability. And, we got some good returning specialists here in the program that now's their time to step up. We've added a transfer in Jack Luckhurst that's on the roster right now as well that we, are excited about to see what he can do. And that's something that, Coach Limbo's actively working at through recruiting and the current guys on our roster as well to try and get that to the level that it was this past season.
And following up on the DBs with Anthony Rose specifically, is he working at one particular position right now, or are you guys trying to get a feel of what he might fit in best at?
Just trying to get a feel, you don't want to overload those young freshmen too much. So, with Devani coming in from Central Michigan, working at safety, and then Anthony and Peyton Williams are both out there today. I mean, I'm sure their head was spinning trying to figure out everything, but both those guys are working at safety. But, both of them are smart, intelligent young men. Talking about Peyton and Anthony, they're both smart, intelligent, and have a lot of position flexibility. So through one practice, that's where we are, but eager to see what those guys can continue to do over the next 14 as well. All right, got it. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.